for a lot of our clients, buying a home seems impossible. It just seems impossible. Alex, welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate it, mate.
Good to, really good to have you in. You're actually asking quite a good question before, which I thought I'd save the answer for the podcast. You're like, why are you guys doing this podcast? And there's a couple of reasons that we're doing it. So I think the fundamental behind the podcast is everyone in Australia, not everyone, but most people in Australia woke up in a piece of real estate. Most people are going to go to bed in a piece of real estate tonight. So everyone in the country is somewhat involved in real estate. So everyone's got an opinion and an experience. Like they literally call it the Great Australian Pastime.
Yeah.
So my thinking was that you could literally have anyone come in and you could have a chat about real estate and people are going to have opinions and things that are interesting to say. So, in doing that, we have like our clients on the podcast, and I think it's really good for them to just explain their experience and what happened, but more importantly, the emotions. So I think everyone goes through a very similar emotional cycle when they buy their first home. And I think it's great for prospective clients to hear what they felt, how they did it. And really what I'm hoping it'll do is give people hope. It's not just them that thinks it's impossible, but you can overcome it. And then the other idea is to have in, people who have a little bit of notoriety. So, for example, in the next couple of weeks, we're having a world champion come in, so world champion triathlete.
Wow.
But yeah, so same thing. I bet you he will have gone through the same experiences. And then, obviously, people like your good self who I'm an industry expert, might be a little bit too
I'll
much.
take it.
Yeah, but industry people who can give our clients and our prospective clients like some insight that they may otherwise not get.
For sure.
Yeah, but before we get into that, so I went to a stand-up comedy show last week that you were starring in.
Yes.
So what was it called? It was Last Comic Standing. Is that what it is?
No, it's called Raw Comedy.
Okay.
It's an Australian event they put on for new acts coming into the industry, and it can slingshot your career into it quite well, and get the limelight. So basically, it's for the Melbourne International Comedy Festival.
Yep.
So you go through like a heat, and then when you get through that heat, you can get through the semi-finals, and the semi-finals you get to the finals. Now that's for the states.
Yep.
So each state has a finalist, and then you go down to Melbourne, and then if you win your state, you go down to Melbourne, and then you get to perform in front of 15,000 people. So
yeah,
that was the competition. I got through to semis, which you came for, which I appreciate, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's I've only just started. I've done, I think that was my 9th show. I think it was.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Because you were so good.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, like not just blowing smoke up your...
No. You've always been a straight shooter, so I do generally appreciate it.
Probably sometimes
brutal,
to my detriment.
sometimes brutal. yeah.
But yeah, like it was incredible. You were so good and so funny and personable and comfortable up on the stage.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe you'd just started.
Yeah.
Like you were genuinely hilarious. And I mean, like it's a bit mean to the other people, but I can't believe you got through. Like we were there with a couple of friends. Obviously your boss Tommy was there, and we were all discussing it afterwards. And like genuinely, you were in the top 2 funniest people. There was one other dude who might have been funnier.
Yeah.
And then you didn't get through, which was a shame.
Yeah.
But so how on earth and why did you decide to do stand-up comedy?
Stand-up's always been a thing on my mind. I don't know. When you think about like what you would love to do as a career or a job, I don't know why comedy's always fell in that path.
Yeah, right.
I think it's because I have such an imagination. I've always loved just making people laugh. It's not necessarily want to be center of attention, but I just like to be laughter. And I think because my family's English, so the background and always that smart aleck kind of humor.
Yeah.
So I love back and forth. I love back and forth stuff. If you're going to give it, you have to take it.
Yeah.
And having quite a lot of friends in different friend groups, and it's always that banter. And everyone's always said that. They've always said, oh, you should just try it, you should try it, you should try it. And it seems like one of those achievable goals. I guess like property just seems so unachievable sometimes. You're like, I don't know if I can do this. Like that's so big to do. And then finally signed up to an open mic night, which is not what I thought they were. They're planned like a month in advance. You know, it's not like I thought you go there on the night and you get to perform. It's not really how it works, because then people would just be sitting around hoping they're going to get on potentially.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to it I didn't realise. And then jumped into it and loved every bit of it. You know, it was...
So did you just come up with an act on your own about being a Gold Coast bogan?
Yeah. I've got that. I look like that typical starter pack for the Gold Coast. You know?
like what goes into the starter pack? So a shirt two sizes too small,
kid size shirt.
Yeah, got to have a couple of tattoos
got to
in there.
An arm tattoo done, a neck tattoo,
slick back hair.
Have a Harley. You know, ticking all those boxes. But you got to make fun of yourself, you know what I mean? Like, you get up there and I know what I look like, so lean into it. You know, it's like they're thinking it, so just go with it. You know, everyone relaxes. You know what I mean? Like, it just makes it more. I don't know. Everyone just relates to it. Like they can see they're thinking it, so then lean into it just to crack the ice to get everyone going. So, but I've been writing stuff down for 4 years. So,
really?
Yeah.
So this has sort of been 4 years, kind of in the making in your head.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Yeah. So it's always been like a conversation we have, and it's a funny story or whatever it is. I'll jot that down, and then you might tell it to a different friend group, and if it sits quite well with them, just write it down. Like it'll be always I'll write the full story or memory or opinion on something, you know, like me wanting, because I have a little daughter and watching Wiggles a lot, like wanting to punch a Wiggle. Like it's just a stupid opinion, but, you know, parents that have to sit there and watch it for hours on end, they'll have that funny opinion too.
Yeah.
Jot it down.
Taking out Peppa Pig.
Yeah. Having bacon kind of thing. And... so then when it comes to doing a set, I put it more into dot points kind of thing. So I think when it's sounds like a speech, it just doesn't feel the same. Like if I'm
100%.
word for word trying to repeat back to you exactly what I say, it's not relatable and funny. It seems too acty. So then for when it comes to trying to do a set, then it's just dot points. You know what I mean? It's like Gold Coast, dot points of what I look like Gold Coast, and then Wiggles, opinions on Wiggles, and Wet and Wild and views on that. It's just things like that. Yeah. And then it just flows. Every time I've done it, touch wood, it's flowed quite well. Like you get to there and it's not you stumbling, trying to think of what to say. It just kind of flows through. But it's good. It definitely gives you that adrenaline and excitement. And it's something that I thought I'd never be able to do. And now 9 shows in, you're like, wow, that was, I'm so grateful for this. So
for sure.
Keep cracking at it for sure.
So I do something called Toastmasters. So Toastmasters it's a not-for-profit that's been around since, I don't know, like 1923 or something. And I thought it was just about public speaking. So you go there, you give speeches, whatnot. But it turns out like at least half of it is about leadership as well. So, excuse me. But yeah, what you were saying about the dot points is so true. So if I give a speech at Toastmasters, and they're generally sort of 5 to 7 minutes, or some are maybe 10 minutes, but what I do is I have like a central story, and within that story I might have 3 points, and they're the only bullet points that I've got. And then I just tell the story and remember the points I'm trying to make throughout the story. But one time I tried to give like a super, like it was literally a written out speech. And it bombed. It was so terrible. Like I felt the whole time that I was trying to remember what I had to say, rather than connecting with and sort of feeding off that audience energy.
For sure. Like I've got dyslexia. I've always struggled with dyslexia, reading and writing massively.
Do you?
So with school, like I hated public speaking. Like it would just be like nervous, and I'd kick a big fuss up if you had to, because you got to write a speech out for school and do all the speeches. Yeah. And I would always sook. If I had to get up there and do it, I'd try and have letters written why I couldn't do it, and I would just sook hard and make a big fuss. So for me, it's sales is such a great thing to get into, because then that gives you that confidence of that sink or swim. Like you have to read contracts and read specifications of whatever you're selling. So then your reading's got to get better, your writing's got to get better. And then, like you said, you're getting and talking to 3 to 4 people in front. So that's getting more and more public speaking. And then, you get to then comedy where it's like, okay, it's a room full of people.
Yeah.
But it's funny, you don't realize how you transition for those times.
Yeah.
To get to there.
Yeah, scary, but like if you nailed it, having such a big room full of people, which you did, you had the whole room in hysterics. Like the feeling would just be unbelievable. Hey, I just want to go backwards for a second to. Do you mind talking about the dyslexia thing a little bit?
Yeah, for sure, man.
So, what is your experience of that? Like, what does it feel like? So, for example, I pick up a book and sometimes I read it and I realize I'm thinking about something else and I have to reread a page.
Yeah.
But mostly I can get lost in a book and I really love reading.
Yeah.
For you, what's the experience like when you're trying to read and write?
For sure, I definitely get lost a lot. My eyes, it's not that, I guess you could say lazy, but when I look at a page, normally I see white lines through all the words. So it kind of, my eyes are getting lazy trying to just attract other things and focusing on the words.
Yeah.
So when I was in I think it was year 7, I was reading at a year 3 or 4 level. And then funny enough, literally just down the road here, I went to a dyslexic school kind of training thing where everything's all color matching or what your eyes adjust to and what they feel better at focusing. And that got me back up to then where I needed to be. And that was like a tinge of orange lenses, and they were very expensive, and I never wore them because I looked like Bono, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I hated them.
Do you know those Swannies glasses? Have you heard of those?
Yeah. So
they're not great.
No, so for something that I was already embarrassed about, that just draw much more attention to it. So I never.
Kids are rough.
Oh, dude,
like, there's no way that's getting let.
I know.
No one's letting that through to
no
the
one's
keeper.
gonna let me sit down and go, he's got it. That's all right. Like they're just yeah. So I didn't help myself because I never used them. Mm-hmm. So I think it just then became more in my head, where I struggle with reading, writing, but then I really struggle with anyone giving me help, because then if they kind of made it like, that's really obvious, that word is, how can you not read that? I'd get really, really embarrassed about that.
Yeah, like defensive.
Yeah.
So then, which would perpetuate the problem and it'd get worse, 100%. Right? So you can't do what you're doing, so you really need a hand.
Yeah.
But in getting the hand, just so defensive because
100%.
Yeah,
because that's what it'd be. You come home with homework and. Your parents have been working all day long, and then they've got to sit down and try and go through work. And to their credit, I mean, they've been working all day long, and then you're struggling to read a page that, they just get frustrated and things like that. And same with school, people just get frustrated, which I know, I understand that people would do, because you're really struggling with it.
So I remember when I was a kid, and I think boys struggle. Not all boys, but I think boys struggle to concentrate in general.
For sure.
Like you see a 5 or 6 year, like a 5 or 6 year old boy, they're just like, they're breaking things, they're climbing on this, and it's hilarious if it's not yours, and you don't need to manage
you can walk away. Yeah.
Where you see a little girl, and not all girls, like obviously broad brushstrokes, but they're sort of happy to sit down and just concentrate and do one thing. But the point of my story is, I remember when I was a kid, and some people were hard on me, would be a nice way of saying it, when I was a kid. And I remember it being screamed at me, "You're so undisciplined. You lack discipline." And like, I believed that. I thought
you do, yeah.
I thought I couldn't stick at things.
Yeah.
And oh God, I'm getting like goosebumps remembering this stuff. But so I took that on and I believed it. And, for a lot of my life, I couldn't stick at things. And then when I was 30, very early 30s, I think I finally started to grow up and to take responsibility, but to take responsibility of myself and my life.
For sure.
And it turns out I'm not undisciplined. Like I was a professional athlete. You would.
I was going to say, man, it's crazy hearing that from you, from your background of success with triathlons and business and everything, hearing that.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was just that when I was a kid, if I wasn't interested or you didn't explain to me the context of what I was learning, I couldn't get into it. I couldn't just be told. But if you did something that sparked my curiosity, I was hyper focused on it, almost to the point of it being a problem, like with triathlon, where I just got obsessed and I couldn't let go. And like I did one triathlon, and 10 years later, I gave up that obsession, you know, having had a professional career and all of that thing. But I think with kids, and I haven't got kids, so, you know, I really feel like I'm slinging stuff from the cheap seats. But I think with kids, sometimes we look for how people don't fit in, and we characterize them based on the weaknesses that they have in their differences. Where if you look at all the people who don't fit in are the ultra successful people in the world. Sure. Like you look at Elon. You look at Elon Musk. Have you heard that guy talk? Like he's the most socially awkward dude in the world.
TED Talks and everything.
Yeah. But if you focus on the strength of what's in there, you know, Richard Branson's another famous example of someone with dyslexia who was just molded in the right way that he believed in himself.
For sure.
And, you know, he runs one of the biggest companies in the world, will not look at a balance sheet. Like he's just like, you know, he focuses on what his strengths are and then surrounds himself with people for the things that aren't his strengths. But if you don't get that right, like you can just destroy someone's confidence. And some people never come back from that.
They don't, man. Yeah. My biggest one I always looked up to, because I love film, is Tom Cruise. He was heavily dyslexic.
Was he?
And you look
I didn't
at him,
know that.
No. And you look at his career, like he's one of those actors that every film he's done is always done super well. And like, you know, I don't know, just his transparency for his career with all that stuff. I just think that's something I always looked at. I thought that's crazy, because the idea of someone's dyslexic and they can read a whole script and remember that, that was, to me, it was like, wow, that's insane to do. To me, that sounded crazy. So
I Mark Boris, who of Yellow Brick Road and Wizard Home Loans fame. Yeah, so I was I was about to try and play this. Like I you know, we were having a conversation. He was telling me that's rubbish. I was listening to his podcast. Anyway, so I'm listening to his podcast, and I didn't realize the way he rose to fame and success was via mentorship and partnership with Kerry Packer.
Okay.
And he was telling me that they went in on a business together, so they're 50-50. And Packer says to him, all right, let's go through the numbers. And Mark comes in and he's all prepared and he's going through EBITDA and all of this stuff. And Kerry goes, son, put that shit away. Tell me how much money came in, how much money came out, who owes us money, who we owe money. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And like you can get lost in all of this other stuff. But if you distill it to the basics and you've got someone driving the basics, then you know that's what you need to succeed.
For sure. I find that in sales. Sales is a funny one where you can really complicate it when you get into sales, and you just really, really overcomplicate it. But whatever you're selling, all it is it's a product or a service, and you're just asking that person if that suits the product they're looking for or the service they're looking for. If it doesn't, then that's it. Like, that's all it is. If it is, great, I can offer that service. Like, that's all it is. But getting into it, you complicate it so heavily at the start, for sure.
Yeah, and particularly salespeople. Like, I occasionally on TikTok and Instagram or whatever, I get some of the salespeople talks. And,
I know.
You know, it's just rubbish. American. It's like technique for this and that. Yeah. And you know, we talk to our guys here, and we don't call them salespeople.
Yeah.
We don't talk to them like they're salespeople.
For sure.
What we do is we try and make them focus on their clients. And it was, you know, I spent, I think, 18 months and we did this massive research piece on who are our clients, what are their core issues, how can we best solve them. And, you know, that's what led to me writing the book and the First Home Foundations process and all of that. But this was my ethos, right? So, like, we, at the end of the day, like, we sell houses is what we do. Yeah. People buy house and land packages from our partners. You know, you guys build houses, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yes, we do that. But what you really need to understand is not, hey, you want a house, we've got a house. That's not it. Because otherwise people would just go out and do it themselves. What people have is fears sitting behind that.
Yeah.
So, you know, one of the things that we go through is for a lot of our clients, buying a home seems impossible. It just seems impossible. You know, rents keep going up, prices keep going up, interest rates are going up, what you need for a deposit is going up. And then at the same time, you've got the media going, oh, there's a housing crisis, there's a housing crisis. Yeah. And then you've got your parents who you know, they bought a house in 1990, which is totally different to now. And people start believing that it's impossible. Yeah. And then they get overwhelmed.
For sure.
There's all of this stuff going on, all of this noise, and it just gets put into the too hard basket.
Yeah.
And then what that leads to is they get stuck in this unknown and unstable future. And that's what rental properties are.
Yeah.
You know, you pretend they're your home.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know, it only takes a couple of real estate inspections before you realise, hey, this isn't my place.
Yeah. Or get kicked out because they want to move back in, the owners of it, and then it's like,
yeah,
or I've been here for 10 years. That's
exactly.
That was a waste of money and time. Cool.
Like, yeah, or you know your rent goes up by $100 in a year. All of that stuff, and then for a lot of our clients, they've either just had kids, just about to have kids, just got married, and what it does, this big emotional problem that they've pushed deep down and pretended it doesn't exist. Yeah. Like it's tomorrow's problem. We'll deal with that later. When people have kids, they're like, hold on, this isn't just about me now. It's about them. And it brings all of these emotions to the surface. And what I say to our guys is it's not about great inclusions in the house, although great inclusions in the house are a must.
Yeah.
But if you even want to get to there, all right, what you need to do is you need to deal with that emotion that client's got, the fear that they've got, the overwhelm that they've got, and what your job is. Because people don't come in and they don't go to you, I'm really scared. Yeah, like, it's just not what you do with a stranger.
Too vulnerable, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But if you know that's what's really going on and you're tactful and you've got compassion and care, you can ask the right questions that will bring that out. And, you know, if you can really encapsulate someone's problem like that, then of course you're going to be part of the solution because you really understand what the issue is.
Yeah.
And the issue practically might be, hey, I can't get a loan. But unless you've dealt with the emotional stuff beforehand, there's just no point.
Yeah.
Now, if you're trying to attack that like a salesperson, I'm going to close 37 deals this month. I'm going to make all of this money. Like there's a joke in sales that goes, the commission breath is reeking off you. But it really is, right? Like people don't like that. It makes them feel dirty.
When you're trying to really sell to them like that. But to your guys' credit too, your team and that, and not just saying it because I'm speaking to you, like the deals you guys do, it's not you just throwing mud at a wall hoping that it sticks. Like it's not you truly understand the borrowing capacity they have. You have the conversation of like, you know, the emotions that are involved. Hey guys, like I know you want to be around these areas. Like realistically, this is going to be the spot. It's like, does this work for you? Is this okay? Like you're having that conversation. So when you guys are coming to us with, hey, we're looking in these particular areas, we know then, because land, as you know, it's moving so quickly at the moment, you do have to jump relatively quick. And when you don't have that relationship with the client, that just seems so pushy salesman. So like you said, like you guys build that rapport and relationship. So when it doesn't come across pushy, like, hey, you know what we spoke about, these areas, there's a really good package in here right now. Does this work for you? Yes, it does. Bang. But, when people don't make that relationship, you get to that point, they freak out. It's like, whoa, you're just coming at me so hot right now.
Yeah. Well, because you're telling that person, rightly so, that you've got like an hour and then this block's gone.
Yeah.
We actually had this, it was with you guys. We had client in Logan Reserve. We got the so they saw the block. We sent the block to them, and they wanted to go ahead, but it took them 57 minutes. Literally 57 minutes to sign the EOI, so the expression of interest form, which is what you need to do when you want a block of land. And they sent it back to us, and we're literally on internet banking to transfer the deposit, and we got the phone call in saying, sorry, block's gone. Jeez. And that's reality, right?
Yeah, definitely at the moment, for sure.
But if you're trying to explain that to that reality to someone you don't have a good relationship with, they're like, sure, mate.
Here he goes.
Sure, it is.
He's trying to get commission.
You're
hard.
trying to get me to make a decision straight away.
Yeah.
Where if you do have that relationship, you sort of got the authority where you can explain the situation. Speaking of, explain the situation with land. Why is it like this at the moment? Or not why is it like this? What is it like at the moment?
Yeah, it's very scarce at the moment for land. I guess we're just so far behind with development. It's been like that since the few years ago in COVID. You know, it went rampant. Everyone was buying everything, which is a good thing. It's just we're always meant to be 3 to 4 years ahead on where we're at with land. And I think we're sitting in Queensland, it's like 1.5 or 6 years ahead. So it's like half where it needs to be. So we're catching up too quick, chewing all the land up.
Yeah.
And that's been such a headache to it. And then it's a good thing for sure for first home buyers with the first home buyers grant, the 30K that helps out everyone get into the homes for sure. But that's obviously livened the market up crazy. So everyone's now trying to jump in and get the first home, which is brilliant, but it's just, that's what's chewing the land up. So it's good, but then it's also, the land and then obviously registration. So when the land can actually entitle and everything like that is getting further out. So you like it to be only a few months out, but now it's summer creeping out to a year away.
Yes. Yeah. So let's put some meat on the bones of this because it's a huge issue at the moment. So in any market, you've got supply and you've got demand. Mm-hmm. So in this market that we're working in, supply is land and building materials. Yeah. Demand is people buying. So what you were saying is, and for the listeners, what developers do is they take a paddock, essentially, and they turn that paddock into a block of land that you're then able to buy and build your house on. So that process, depending on the developer and approvals, a lot goes into it, but that process takes somewhere between 3 and 5 years to do.
Yeah.
So what developers have to do, developers, councils, people with civil constructions, everyone has to forecast years into the future as to what demand's going to be, right? So that's one side, that's the supply side. Then we have the demand side, and the demand side is driven by buyers, as I said, and the principal buyers that we've got is first home buyers, our favourite people. We've got first home buyers, we've got second home buyers, so upgraders, downsizers, etc. Yep. You've got investors, and then you've got self-managed super funds, plus overseas buyers to a lesser extent. So they're the buyers. Now, if all of this is working in harmony, as things normally should, we're able to kind of accurately predict what's going to happen in the future. But what's happened more recently, so we'll leave COVID to the side because that's a whole nother conversation. So, but what's happened more recently is this. So on the demand side, the state government has come out with the $30,000 first homeowners grant boost. Yep. Which is amazing. Like the biggest issue for clients is deposit, 30 grand in the till before you even start is epic. Yeah. Like it's really good. The problem is it's not just really good for you. It's really good for everyone else as well, right? So what happens is all of these people who were saving up, and on average, it takes a first home buyer between 5 and 10 years to save enough deposit. Wow. Yeah, some research was done by Finder on that. Anyway, we digress. So all of these people who were maybe going to buy in the next 5 to 10 years, all of a sudden they can all buy now. So there's more demand.
Yeah.
At the same time, migration levels in Australia have gone up.
Yeah.
So normally we're like 250,000 a year. Last year, 650,000 people.
Yeah, right.
All those people have got to live somewhere.
Yeah.
So they're either living in rentals
Yeah.
or they're buying properties, right? So then there's a rental crisis.
Yeah.
So rents start going up. So more people try and buy properties. More people are buying properties, but we haven't worked out the supply yet because we haven't predicted that all of this stuff was going to happen. So the supply gets chewed up. So now there's not enough properties. And economics 101 is when demand outstrips supply, what happens?
Yeah.
Prices go up, right? But then prices start going up, and then you've got investors who go, hold on a second, rents are going up, prices are going up, this is a good investment. So then they start buying. And the issue is, for your humble first home buyer,
I know.
yeah, you've got prices going up, you've got all of this competition, and it makes for a disaster situation on the land side of things.
And for sure, that 30K, because you're going to get, under 700 to get that 30K.
Yeah.
And then that's hard even to now, because like you said, price is going through the roof. So it's getting more slimmer.
The government's got to move it.
For sure.
Because there's not enough stock that's available under 700,000 for first home buyers to buy.
Yeah.
So the problem is they come out with these schemes and they have fixed numbers, which they kind of need to do, right? Like you don't want to be propping up someone buying $1.5 million property. But the issue is like 700,000 for your first home loan deposit scheme was the right amount a year ago.
Yeah.
It's not now.
No.
Like the property market's moving, so the grant needs to move at the same time if you are wanting to have the desired effect, which is to help first home buyers get in.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, this isn't meant to be about me. It's meant to be about you. But yeah, sort of that adds meat to the bones of the discussion we were having about the block of land. So when, as a first home buyer, what you want to be buying is a registered block of land.
For sure.
Because registered means you can build on it now. You can settle on it now. It's all good.
Yeah.
The issue if you're buying a block of land that registers in a year's time, which we just will not let our clients do.
Yeah.
But the problem is you'll need to get reapproved in a year's time. There's no guarantee you can do that.
Yeah.
And building material prices may change.
May change too, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we always try and take that in accountability, but developers too, like that land in a year's time could have gone up. They could have made another 80,000, 60,000 on it. So they can cancel contracts anytime too. There's things like that happen that they've been waiting, so excited to finally get to that point, and then the last minute they change something on you, and yeah, they crash the deal, and then you're back to square one, and all the land's gone up even more. So
I won't say who it was or where it was, so I don't get into trouble. But during COVID, what you're talking about there with the developers is sunset clauses.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what a sunset clause is you sign a contract with the developer. A sunset clause says at a particular point of time in the future, if this hasn't settled, either party can cancel the contract, right? So there was a particular developer who sold all of these blocks, and then the big COVID property boom happened. All of the blocks went up by 100, 150 grand. And he kept putting off his civil works, which is, for the listeners, putting in the roads and whatnot.
Yeah.
And, he kept saying it was materials problems, which there were genuine materials problems, like shortage of materials, but other people were getting stuff done.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people in the industry were saying he's holding out to invoke a sunset clause here.
Yeah.
Anyway, time came, he invoked the sunset clause, cancelled everyone's contracts, said you can rebuy it if you want for 100, 150 grand more. Just
So
total
messy.
dick move.
No, just messy, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't like doing business like that. I mean, and that's why, like you're saying, where to make everything work, I guess from our side as the builders, like as you know, but I guess to your listeners, is you to build with us, with Avia Homes, you have to come directly through a group like yourself, a first-home buyers group. We don't do retail; it's through us. So the three kind of relationships that we need to work is the relationship we have with yourself, a group, and then the developers and the builders, and that needs to all be in harmony. Which wherever the market is, where like. In my opinion, and I'm not saying it's always for people, and I don't mean to, and I'm not saying all land agents, but the group.
I know where this is heading.
Yeah. The group and the builder, from what I've experienced, has always been transparency. It's a two-way street. They work well together. It's all about the client at the end of the day. If we've got the right service and product is working well, and you guys are looking after your client, that always, in what my experience has been, has gone well. But in times like this, when the land is so scarce and the power has gone to the land, that always seems to go way quickly to the head. Things change so quickly, where it goes from, you talk before COVID and other times, or even the gap between COVID and now, they give you rebates and everything, trying to get people to buy those particular land. And then when people really, really need land, that power goes very quickly to the head, where they won't give you much time with it. So, I mean, I know at the moment it is like that, where land's moving so quickly, but there needs to be an understanding that it's the first time they're buying a house. It's a lot of money. It's the biggest commitment they're going to make, and they're trying to do it, and you're only giving them, like you said, like you guys did, under an hour, and you're pulling it away from them. Like, you need to give someone the first time to have it for a day, at least something, let them sleep on it. But they're not doing that now. It's just like, that's what it is. Take it, leave it, move on. Like, the power's gone so quickly to the land side of things, and it'll come back around and that, but the power always seems to switch in the three relationships that on my end of what we have always goes too far that way all the time, which is hard.
It's just life, right? It's a pendulum.
Yeah.
I think you bring up some really good points. One thing, so you can complain about this. It's not going to change.
No.
Like, if you've got a developer who has one block with 10 people wanting to buy it, they're going to punch up prices and push their weight around. So from our point of view, we try and manage it in two ways. So one way we try and manage it is just managing the expectations with the clients. So, quite often we'll take people out, we'll go and see display homes, we'll go and see a block which we think will be about the right size and about the right area, so we can get everything lined up. We'll explain everything they need to know, and then we'll say, hey, when a block comes, we got to jump, and we got to jump like that.
Yeah.
And we try and do all of the pre-work, so when the jump moment comes, our clients are ready. And like that client with the 57 minutes, they were ready to jump.
Yeah,
they were just at work. Like, can't do everything immediately. 57 minutes is quick. But yeah, so we try and manage it from the client's side, so they know what's going on, so they've got a level of comfort when we come back and say, hey, we've got to do this. Because, like, from my point of view, there's just no point in whinging. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, and this is something that we know we manage directly and we manage with you guys, like, we've been in this game a long time now. And, over the years, we've gone through a few peaks and troughs. And when things are bad for the land agents, we look after the land agents.
For sure.
Right? And then when things swing the other way, a lot of those relationships still stand.
Yeah.
So, we've still got land agents who could be out there playing funny buggers, putting pressure on clients.
For sure.
And they've actually been pretty good.
Yeah.
But, you've got to, you can't establish those relationships overnight. Like, you literally need to do it over years.
No. Yeah, for sure. And from our point of view too, we need to prove it. So that comes down to our build specifications, the quality of a build, to what they look for too is how the site's kept tidy and things like that, health and safety. Like, they look at all that, and which I believe is going to have a chat with you soon. Tom Egan, which is the director of Avia Homes. I
felt like that was a name drop.
Yeah. I know Tom. Just
let me pepper some Tommy Egan.
Yeah, just to call him out. Hope he hears this, pay raise, whatever. He comes from the background, I guess, which you're well aware of yourself, where he used to help first-time buyers and get into the market and that. So he understands that need of customer care and all that. And then he also has relationships with developers for, over 10 years. So he understands what they're looking for within a builder as well. So for us, like, I can sit here, like you said, and complain, but it doesn't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And Tom understands that too. He understands that there's no point in complaining. Like, you got to jump through hoops. You got to jump through hoops to get the clients to land. That's what we need to do. And those relationships in times like now is where it pays off massively, where we can still secure great blocks in certain areas. And for us too, we've been buying a lot of land too, stuff that, like we just said, is registering too far away. So instead of wasting your time and the client's time of being so far away, we'll just sit in it till it gets closer to registration. And then we have some nice registered blocks for you as well in great areas too.
Yeah, so what this is for people who don't know, this is off-market sales. So an estimated, the exact number escapes me, but it's around 25%. So an estimated 25% of all residential real estate transactions in Australia never hit the open market. Right, where it's just, we've got a really good relationship with the developer. They'll say, hey, we've got this coming up in the next couple of years. They literally come in and say, hey, we've got this coming up. We're going to have this many blocks. Do you want to take something in this stage?
Yeah.
And, if we'll look at it, if it works, sure, we'll take 10 blocks in this stage. That never gets to the open market. So for your first home buyer, they literally never in the game.
Yeah.
They can never buy it. And, it's one of the many benefits, but it genuinely is one of the benefits of dealing with a company who has such strong history and good relationships in a marketplace. So, you have things like the 30,000 first homeowners grant come out, the same as when the Builder Boost came out. So a lot of people just look at it and they're like, oh, we can make some money off this.
Yeah.
And, you have all of these... I was about to be disparaging. I'm sure they're lovely people, but it's a lot of Johnny-come-lately companies that just pop up out of nowhere. Yeah. And, you look them up and they registered in 2024.
Yeah.
They've got no reviews, blah, blah, blah. And they're really just trying to take advantage of things. Take advantage of a stimulus in the market is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
But they haven't got those relationships. They haven't been planning years out. They're not here for the long term. Like you saw that home builder stimulus disappeared, and I'm making this number up, but I reckon like 80-90% of first home buyer companies literally disappeared overnight.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, like I could count on my hand. Sweeping statements. I reckon I could count on my hands how many were left.
Yeah.
And then you look now, and they're all starting to trickle back in.
And that's for us too, is we don't want to work with all of them too, but like that's where like the relationship we have with yourselves and your company is, that relationship has been built over the years with yourself and Tom. And like we just don't want everyone, because it depends on how the clients use, how the clients are serviced from yourself. Like we look at all that stuff, because like we're building them a home and we need to make sure they're getting looked after from yourself as well. And just as much as you need to make sure we're building a fantastic home for them and doing what we promised. So we don't, like you said, those relationships over years, like a new first home buyers group that's registered this year that want to come work with us, they need to prove something, just as much as we need to prove to them, but they need to prove to us that they're doing the right thing. And like you said, that's a over the years process that they need to be doing.
You guys are you're the 8th largest builder in Queensland now.
Yeah.
Like you're in the, I mean, not that you guys like to brag about that, but I'll brag for you. No. But in all seriousness, you're not in the position where you're begging for business. Yeah. So you've got a huge company. You've got a great reputation. And why would you sully that by dealing with, I have to get better language. Dickheads is not good, Leigh. Why would you sully that dealing with unscrupulous folk? But do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, but
yeah,
for sure, yeah. And again, name dropping, but Tom's the product.
Tommy, he's going hard for a pay rise. Hard.
Just snip this and send that to him. Yeah. But yeah, the things Tom's put in place in the business we have, like, it wouldn't be what it is without him, as much as I don't like giving him that credit because we wind each other up. Yeah, everything, even down to the little details, like Avia Homes, that's his two daughters' names put together. Like, there's things like that where you're not going to do bad business and do, like, better wording, but shit builds and things like that and product if you've got your two daughters' names on front of everything. It means the world to him, the company and the business, and the relationships that relationships and net worth mean a lot to me with people that you build over the years, and it's the same with him. He doesn't want to do business with everyone. He just wants to do business and good business, and that's all it is. And at the end of the day, a lot of our business too is first-home buyers. It falls that way because of the way the industry is and the specifications and nice homes we do. There isn't too much for investors at the moment, just for land point of view. But I'd probably say 80% of our sales at the moment has been owner rocks, and that's just Tom's business is like just purely good business. We do a full turnkey product, and I know a lot of people say they do that, but we do a true full turnkey product, and he just owns his brand very well. His background, his story to everything is someone that I've always... I met my relationship with him through business, purely business first, just like yourself. And then it spires into a friendship and a relationship with yourself and Tom. But yeah, I wouldn't work for anyone else in this industry bar Tom, for sure.
Yeah. Like, as much as it pains me to give the bloke a plug, but I actually think this is very important. Hold on.
Too much talking.
Mate, I've done 2 days of audiobooks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I can barely talk. That is hard work.
So what, you're reading books, doing your own vocal and everything? Yeah,
That
right.
one.
Yeah. So you're reading that as an audio. That's cool.
Yeah, it comes out next week. It should come out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So...
Geez, that's hard. You have to get tonality right and
I got no
pauses
idea.
and-
Like, the producer said it was great, and he said my inflections was what he was talking about. He's like, they're really good, and yeah, like I was going through. I'm literally laughing at my own jokes.
I'm already laughing because I need to tell you a story. Yeah.
But yeah, he's like, it's all, your laughing's genuine. And I'm like, I didn't even realize I was laughing. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'd just read things and go, you goose, I can't believe you said that.
Yeah, because speaking of Tom again, he said to me that he's like, I was saying that the compliments you gave me after the comedy show of my show, and I was like, I really appreciate Leigh saying all those things. That was appreciated. He's like, yeah, man, you should really take on what Leigh said, because he does a lot of public speaking training and everything, so he knows what he's talking about. And I was like, okay, that's really good. And then now that I know that you're like, hey, you've got really nice like tonality and pausing when you the conversation and like leading the conversation, is we had a bit of disagreement the other day with a client where we needed to come to the party and help out. And I was just saying to Tom that you could just tell like how I was so not in control of the conversation. It was just like, so what's the solution here, Alex? And I was like, oh, goddamn, I'm so not in control of this.
Yeah, that was, anyway. We got there in the end. That's
did.
the main thing.
No, I would say
we got there, the customer got their house, everyone was happy. But
For sure.
like, it's just relationships, right? Like, every now and again, you're going to
man.
need to have a difficult conversation.
Yeah, and to your credit too, a lot of people say they separate personal and business relationships, but you do that really well. You do that really, really well. It's purely nothing business, personal, and the whole conversation was purely just making sure the client was happy, which the client was fine at the end of the day.
We shouldn't be airing our dirty laundry in public. Back to Tom and Tom
The business, yeah.
and Avia, because I just wanted to make some points about Avia, which Avia is a very unique business, and what makes it unique is Tom has a background in first home buyers. So what that means is, so you want 3 main things from your builder. One is they need to do a full turnkey product. So full turnkey means, you get the keys, it's ready to be lived in. Fencing's there, driveway's done, no more money to be spent. It needs to be a fixed price building contract. and you need to have high quality inclusions. And what Tom having the background in the first home buyer space does is it means that we deliver a house that, I mean, I'd live in these houses. They're good. Like, they're seriously good homes. Homes that you can be proud of, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you're after, where a lot of people in this space, I don't want to talk down about other people because I don't think it's great. But a lot of homes are done with what's called an investor spec.
Yeah.
So an investor spec is bare basics, everything the cheapest. You know, you've got carpet that if you fall over, you're going to cut your knee open. Like, you
can feel it when you walk in. It sounds so silly, but you can feel it when you walk into those homes.
You literally, carpet is a great example.
Yeah.
To go from the cheap carpet to the good carpet is not that much. Do you remember how much? I think it's like $1,500 bucks.
It's something ridiculous.
It's not that much, but the change it gives to the entire feel of the house is epic.
Oh, the kids want to lay on it, and you know, whatever you're doing, it's fine.
600 by 600 tiles versus 450s. Same thing, right? It just makes the home feel luxurious.
Biggest one for me is that the front door. I just love that 1200 wide front door. Like when you're driving down a street and you're looking at homes and you just see like a 900 wide door and then you see a 1200. First of all, like moving in so much easier, but just the whole front facade looks so much nicer with that 1200 on the front.
Looks a little bit gangster. It does, let's be honest. No, it's unreal, right? But it's little things that make a huge difference.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. The next thing is Tom's his attention to detail and his process-driven personality must be an absolute nightmare for his wife.
100%.
However, from a business point of view, what it does is the way I describe this is, to me, Avia is the future of builders, right? Sure. So you've still got a lot of old guys out there, and they're great builders, and they build fantastic homes.
For sure.
But their big upgrade is going from bits of paper to 17,000 Excel spreadsheets with Doris in accounts who's looking after it. And it takes them, like literally, you hear stories of this, 12, 18 months to build a home. Now, the actual physical building of the home, like laying the bricks or the slab or whatever it is, that takes the same amount of time. What's lost in the middle is all of this administration and dead time. And the way Avia has this, and every client gets access to this, I think it's called Builder Trend or whatever it is. They get access to an online system where they can see every part of their build scheduled in, and it is managed to within a millimeter of its life. And what that means is you guys are delivering super high quality product really, really quickly. Like one home got built in 15 weeks. 15 weeks.
Yeah.
Like
full turnkey, proper product. Like
anyway, I mean that's obviously an outlier, but 15 to 24 weeks to build a home. But then the quality control on it is out of this world. So it's not necessarily that you physically build the properties faster, although you may do that. It's just that all of this wasted time is gone in the middle.
Yeah.
And then there's full transparency for clients. And it's because you do everything online, right?
There's no secret to it. There's definitely ripples in the industry about Avia Homes because, full transparency, we've been around for 2 years. And when you drop the comment of, hey, you guys are in the top 10 builders, like, that is a massive thing. Like what Tom's achieved in that time is ridiculous. Like it sounds, it's just such a crazy thing, and I couldn't be any more happier for him. He truly deserves it, and I know you would agree with that. But the time frames is like, on average, it's for a single story is about 18 to 20 weeks. In the industry right now and how it is for a full turnkey product, that's insane. That's so quick. But that doesn't.
What would a normal builder do it at?
You're talking between, it's hard to say, but literally it can range between 6 to 12 months. Like it can really blow out. Like, and to the other builders' credit too, that I know a lot of them are carrying through. I keep bringing it up, but COVID, like a lot of them are still trying to get out for that time because they're trying to catch up on their builds. So I don't mean to shit on anyone with that stuff. I wish them all the best with everything like that. But we're getting ripples because we're doing things, and people think we're doing something like, or how are they doing it? What are they doing? There's no secret to it. Like, Tom invests in the company purely to make sure it's a good product and service. He has the right people in place. The people that he has hired are great people in general, but they really, really care about the company like it's their own. And everything's like a cloud-based service. Everything's online, and it's full transparency. So anyone can sit here right now and say, "Oh, we built a house in 18 weeks." And okay, sure you do. No. We can even show you that. Like, you go on to our portal, that you get the same access as what we do. Clients get a more, dulled down.
Easier to look at.
Yeah, because it's a very complicated system, but so they get a more easier system. But everything's booked in on there. So when it says slab's getting poured tomorrow, that's the true date that slab is getting poured tomorrow. The concrete's going down. For whatever reason, it doesn't get poured. Usually then what happens is the client rings you, you ring me, I ring the construction manager. Then the transparency comes all the way back. Could take a week, could be stuffed around. I could tell you some made up story. Oh, the truck got cancelled and da-da-da-da-da, where this is like full transparency. Why didn't it get poured? It was raining that day. Okay, go onto the actual app. It's hooked up to the Weather Bureau. It says, Ripley, it was raining in Ripley. Okay, they're actually telling the truth. Like, it's full transparency. And even to make it even more so we keep our word at the top of the page is a graph. It shows if we're in the green or in the red of how many days. Okay, we're 3 days in the red behind on site cut, but then we're 4 in front of it because slab got poured 4 days earlier. Like, it fully shows them the full transparency at the build. It's not we're just making timeframes up. It's the whole process is on there for them to see.
So I've had this experience with builders in the past, and obviously I'm in the industry, so I like to think I've got somewhat of an idea of what's going on. But you'll ring people up and say, "Hey, where's this at?" And then I listen to them literally lie to me and blame it on me like they would a client.
Yeah.
And I'm like, boys, what? Shush! Like, I know what's going on here. And then you think, if they're doing that to me, what are they doing to their customers?
Yeah, for sure.
And we can't operate with people like that, particularly given that, almost all of our business is first home buyers. Obviously, we've got some other companies as well which do investment stuff, but my sole focus is definitely the first home buyer market. And first home buyers, if you're taking 12, 18 months to build a home, that first home buyer is paying rent at the same time as having to pay the mortgage, whilst you're stuffing around on a build site, blaming everything on them.
Yeah, no transparency throughout the process.
Just, like, it's unacceptable. For us, it can't happen, and we can't deal with people like that.
No. Yeah, and look, our system is, people do have online systems, but the difference is it's a live system. People say that, but no, this is a true live system. So it's updated constantly. Like, so the on-site supervisors, so an on-site supervisor basically will only give them between 15 and 18 jobs max each supervisor, because then the quality control is on point. You start going over those numbers. It's hard for anyone to be going out there checking each stage is done properly and whatnot. But those guys are updating that app. They have an iPad that's linked up to the system. So there's no excuse. They're not, I've got to go home and type it all up. It's a full integrated system. It's easy for them to upload straight to it. So everything on there is updated constantly, keeps everyone in control of everything. We have client liaison managers. I think we have, Tom's just hired another one. I think we have 3 now. So if clients do want to be calling the builder directly, they can. They have a client liaison manager. They have the name, their personal number, and they can be talking to them. So yet again, makes it more easier. Plus, Tom's hired a videographer and photographer full time. So on the actual app, they'll get professional photos throughout the stage. Yes, people do that, but it's normally the on-site supervisor taking one on the camera, the thumb half over the camera. It's messy, and at the end of
dirty smudge on the lens.
They don't really care. They're just trying to rush the job out. Where we have a professional photographer, so it's at the end of the build. With first-home buyers, like, it means a lot to them. They've got to create their own home And now they have photos of each stage of the build, the slab, the frame, the roof, and it's just a nice touch feel moment.
It's keepsakes, right?
For sure.
So we, for all of our clients, when they settle on a block of land, we get a big sold sign put up on their block.
That's cool.
And we say, we don't have to do that.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
We literally...
It means the world to them.
Well, we literally do it so they can go out there with their family and take a photo and keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you own your own home?
No, but I'm building now with Avia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that your first house?
Yes, it will be. Yeah, first house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's funny too with like his staff, like the construction managers. One's finished, and the other one's building one. One of the customer service girls is building one now. One of the girls that does contracts, she owns one in Victoria. She's from there, moved up here. Now she wants to build another one. I'm building one. Everyone just likes the product and believes in it. So it's...
Well, that's how you know, right? Like everyone works for a company and like you can't have paid to say it's great.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you have people, putting up their own 700 grand so they can buy the product, you're doing something right.
For sure. And it's keep touching on the big fellow, Tommy, but the
you're going hard
I know
for this pay rise.
God, I better get this. My background is in sales is earth moving machinery, so like excavators and dozers and diggers, anything like that.
You look like you might fit in there.
Yeah. They love me. Yeah. Nice hair, dickhead. But that's my background. I did that for 5 years, and enjoyed that company. It was great doing that. I went overseas, came back, living overseas for a year, and wanted to get into real estate. And I was going to get an existing or new. And I met with someone else, and had a great conversation with Tom where he said, it's great to get into new. He said, do whatever you want, but it's great to get into new because then you learn like square meter rates, you learn growth areas, you learn specifications and what's great to have in a home. So if you do ever go to existing, you're not someone going, it's a 4-bed, 2-bath. You can say, it's a 210 square meter home. It's got 2 590 ceilings. It's got ducted AC. It's got 600 by 600 rectified porcelain tiles. Like you can go through specifications a lot easier. So then, previously I worked with Tom at another builder that didn't disclose, and I worked with Tom there for over a year. I'd loved working with Tom. The product and service we supplied was great. 15 years of building. I had not one notification to rectify a defective work on a QBCC license, which if anyone knows that's insane. That's really good quality control. Tom,
let me stop you on this point
for
here.
Sure.
So for our listeners, you talk to every builder, they're going to tell you they're the duck's nuts.
Yeah.
But the single source of truth, if you want to know what a builder's doing, is to do a license search on the QBCC website. So if you jump on the website, you do a license search, it will show you how many builds they've done. So, a lot of people will say, we do hundreds. And it turns out there's some mum and pop job that's doing 3 a year. But it'll show how many builds they've done. But more importantly, it will show how many complaints they've got. Right? How many notices from the QBCC to rectify work. And look, from time to time, there's going to be some work with, it's like when you go to work or when our listeners go to work every day. You stuff things up from time to time.
For sure.
It's not about that. It's like, do they rectify it? Does the QBCC have to take action against them? But you can jump on there. If you want to know the quality of your builder, get on there and have a look because all of the information's
Look
there.
them all up.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, 100%. Talking about old homes versus new homes, this is a conversation that I've been having for the last 15 years. It feels like almost 15 years. For first home buyers, if you buy a new house, it's just set, right?
Yeah.
It's done. It's like a new car.
Yeah.
It's one price. Everything's included. Everything's covered under warranty.
Has warranty, yeah.
Yeah. You also get access to all of the grants. You're not going to be getting your $30,000 first homeowners grant on an existing home. You're going to end up paying double or triple the stamp duty because you pay it on the whole amount, not just the land amount. There's a whole heap of issues with it. But for a lot of people, and I understand why, right? Like, property is expensive. And for a lot of people, there is, you can cough, mate. They're separate. It doesn't pick it up. So
Cool.
if you cough there, it won't get it here.
Yeah, right.
Lost my train of thought. So
Existing to new.
Oh, yeah. So for a lot of people, property's expensive.
Yeah.
And, buying your first home involves some compromise. So a lot of people are like, I'll compromise having a new house and I'll buy some dog box in a suburb which is close to where my parents live or where I live now. But the first thing is, most people, you just can't afford it, right?
No.
Like, when you take into account, like, you want to buy a $700,000 existing house, this isn't the exact number, but it's bloody close. You need to have $100,000 in the bank.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where if you want to do the same thing, if it's under 700,000 at the moment with all of the grants, you may be able to get away with that with like 10 or 15 grand.
Yeah.
I need to double check those numbers.
It's around that, but it is, yeah.
They're bloody close, right? So there's a huge difference there, and for most people, they can't afford it. But even if you can afford it, this is what people forget. And I have new homes, and I have an existing home. And that existing home is the bone of my existence. So when I bought it, it was built into 2000, like maybe 2001. So it wasn't that old. It's like 20 years old or something, right? And it just has no end of issues. Yeah. Last month, I spent $2,500 on plumbing. It kept bursting pipes. The month before, I spent $1,000 because something in the pool had to be fixed, and then the garage door wouldn't work and it needed to be replaced. So there was stuff before that. It's just been a comedy of errors with this home. And I got the building inspected, and the building inspector said, this is a great house. And I just keep dishing out cash.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's rented out at the moment, and I literally sent an email to the agent and just said, look, whatever the problem was, that's right, it was the fans in 2 rooms are clicking. I'm like, for God's sake. And I literally wrote an email and said, the hemorrhaging of money on this property has to stop. Yeah. So obviously, if it has to be fixed, like if it's urgent, just do it.
Yeah.
But no more unnecessary expenses. And like, it was a strongly worded email. It was almost like our conversation the other day.
Yeah.
And then literally a week, so she doesn't respond.
Yeah.
And then literally a week later, she comes back to me and says, the gas burners on the stovetop have stopped working. And I'm like, I've got to have shelled out 10, 15 grand on this bloody house this year. Yeah. Where I've had my other existing property, new properties, literally have never spent a cent.
Yeah.
Couple of problems, covered under warranty.
I was about to say, warranty, yeah.
Oh, banging microphones. Builder came back and fixed them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people, there is so many unforeseen and unknown things that can happen with an existing home.
Yeah.
And the problem is, so when you buy your first home, just about everyone is nudging the edge of what they can borrow.
For sure.
So you're at your max borrowing capacity, which your max borrowing capacity is very, very close to the maximum amount you can afford before things start going wrong in your life, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, like if you've got 2 kids, you've got a mortgage which is costing you, I don't know, $1,000 a month, and then you have $15,000 worth of bills come in that you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt.
Yeah.
So, and you're not covering that stuff on insurance because it's drip feeding. It's like Chinese water torture. Yeah. Anyway, I'm very fired up about this house. I hate it. I don't hate it. I love the house. I hate the amount of money that I'm spending on it.
But you're right, and that's the thing with the warranty side of things too. Like with us is we do the handover day. So when the clients get to have the home, we do obviously an inspection for that. We inspect it ourselves, but to have more credit to make sure we are doing the right thing is we hire a third party, which that third party is quite well known with the QBCC because they're very onto Like they're very particular with their stuff, but Tom wants to be the best, so why not put that to the challenge? So we even, for clients' purposes, to help them make it feel more, I guess, secure with the property, make sure that it is really...
Put their mind at ease.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We do it, but then we get a third party to do the handover check, so they go through and check everything, making sure like paint's good, any marks, any nicks, blah, 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 locks and so on. And then clients get a 12-month warranty check too. After a year of having the property, they come out and need to check it again. Now, what normally it is Avia Homes to come out and do the warranty claim and just go like, yep, everything's good. But we then pay for a third party to do the yearly check as well. So yet again, putting our name to the line and making sure we're doing the right product. So then they get a third party to come out, which they mean nothing to us, and they'll go through and check everything, making sure yet again, paint's fine, roof's looking good, everything. Just that adding more, I guess, quality to the name of Avia, of just making sure that we care, make sure it's a great product, but then giving them the warranty checks of handover and 12 months is that the product should be exactly the same. Everything should be running fine.
Mm. All right, let's wrap this puppy up. If you were to give one piece of advice to an aspiring first-time buyer, what would it be?
It would be, and a lot of people say it, but it would have to be just to do your research, but to be open-minded to it.
What do you mean by that?
So research, I would say, is definitely look up builders, look up Google reviews. That's a massive thing. Like we just spoke about, QBC license, look that up. We're doing that too. You either go and put the name into search, or on every builder's website, they will have their builder's license. So you can copy that and put it into the search and you'll find that exact builder. Go to social medias too. Every builder has a social media. We care about ours a lot. We put a lot of effort in there. We don't just put up a photo of the front of the house, the facade. We do slab pouring, frames, videos, reels of
drone
everything.
shots.
Exactly. So,
horrible videos of Tom talking.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm bigging ourselves up, but that stuff is really good to look into because then you can see throughout what they're building and what the quality is and everything.
What do you mean by be open-minded?
And then open-minded is I can understand from even being someone that's getting the property now is to reach out to someone like yourself, a group, might be, do we do it or not? I don't know. Do I just buy existing myself? Because you're just looking at the numbers. Like, a unit's $400,000. I'll just get it. I'm opening a can of worms here. You know what I mean? But they will see that like, I can live on the Gold Coast, but for $480,000 in an old unit, I'll just do that. But be open-minded with coming to, people like yourself, where the whole point of you is to be that middleman where you're doing all the right research. You're not working with every builder. You're picking a few that you think are good and that offer the right service. So be open-minded with that, definitely, for sure, that stuff. And yeah, to me, that's the best way of doing it, for sure. What's your opinion? What do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah, like if you had to say to a first-time buyer, like one of your best things.
Hopefully my cousins do not listen to this, but shouldn't say, a relative of mine, maybe we'll cut the cousin bit out, but a relative of mine, so I've got some relatives, they're married, they've got 2 kids, they've got a beautiful home in Melbourne, but they're almost 40 now. And they need to provide for their future, right? But they're conservative. So another word for conservative is scared.
Yeah.
Right? People who just, they don't jump, they think a lot and end up doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like it's just paralysis by analysis. And this is nothing against them. Like they're lovely people. They're my family. I love them.
Yeah.
But they're just scared.
Yeah.
They're scared. And they remind me, even though they're investors, they remind me quite a bit of first-time buyers. So they're just scared. They're scared. And it's fair enough. They don't really get what's going on.
Yeah.
And what I said to them is, for God's sake, just do something.
Yeah.
Like, if you buy a freestanding home on a block of land, so not an apartment, not a townhouse, if you buy a freestanding home on a block of land in a capital city, it's very unlikely that you'll lose.
Yeah.
Just do something.
For sure.
And that's it. That's it.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, you know, what would my advice be to a first home buyer? Just do it. Like, just do it. I know you're scared. You know, all the stuff you said is right. Like, get help, all of that. But ultimately, what does it boil down to? Just do it. You know, another.
And you guys are never going to put them in a situation they can't do anyway. The whole point of them reaching out is for you to then say, hey, this is what we can do. Hey, you know what? It's not the best time for you to buy right now. Let's look at this in 6 months. Save a little bit more. Hey, let's look at this area. It's like, it's not like you reach out, you're sold, you got to buy. Like, it's not that at all.
Well, this is like, I wrote the book. I literally wrote the book. So anyone who you don't need to use us.
Yeah.
Do it yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I want to make the biggest change that I can in Australia. So for a lot of people say the great Australian dream of owning a home is dead.
Yeah.
And that's bullshit. That's total crap. It shouldn't be said, and it shouldn't be that way. Now, it is hard. I agree with that. It's harder than it's ever been before.
Yeah.
But it's not impossible. And the only thing, in my opinion, standing in the way of it is knowledge. And the reason no one is educating first home buyers is because it's hard work.
Yeah.
They're the hardest people in the market to deal with.
Yeah.
Now, it's easier to sell to a cashed up investor. Like, the loan goes through in 10 days.
Yeah, there's no emotions.
Done.
Yeah.
But, you know, when we walk clients through their first home, like, people literally ring up crying. Like, one of the reviews on our website or Facebook, wherever it is from this client who said, I have lived in rentals all of my life. My parents had rentals. I've been in rentals. What you've given me is the gift of security for my children. Now that is work worth doing.
Huge, for sure.
We're going to win day. I feel like that's a high. All right. Thanks very much for coming on.
Appreciate it, mate. Appreciate the time.